As always, little extra credit stuff I'd like to give you guys. So reading through one of my daily devotionals the other day, I really liked it and just wanted to share it with you guys because we've been, I feel like in the fire with some of the discussions and, forging and sharpening each other like iron sharpens iron. So this one I felt was fitting for just something loving instead of just the whip. Put it that way, if you catch my drift there. Out of the ashes. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to comfort all who mourn, to grant to those who mourn in Zion, to give them a beautiful headdress instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of a faint spirit, that they may be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. Isaiah 61, 1 through 3. Through the Old Testament prophet Isaiah, God promised that the Spirit-anointed Messiah would turn sorrow into rejoicing. But what does that even mean, since we know he doesn't always prevent or remove the cause of our sorrow? There are simply so many reasons to grieve. Sometimes poverty or persecution can lead us to grief. Sickness and death do for sure. Not to mention coming face to face with our own sinfulness. As we saw in the story of Mary, Martha, and their brother Lazarus, Jesus grieves too. In fact, in Isaiah 53, he's referred to as a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and as one from whom men hide their faces. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Verse 3. It's not often we think of Jesus as a man of sorrow. In fact, when life goes into the proverbial ditch, we tend to feel like God has done something to us, which means we miss entirely that he's grieving with us. While it's true that he's sovereign, has supreme and ultimate power, and sometimes allows hard things, it's also true that he remains present in the hard things, and that he's been through the hard things. Jesus lost people and loved to sicken and death too. Jesus lost people he loved and sickened and death too, to sickness, including his cousin John the Baptist and his early father. He lost his reputation in his hometown of Nazareth, probably along with a lot of his childhood friends. See Luke 4:16 through 29, where Jesus reads our verse of the day from Isaiah and claims to be its fulfillment. His entire life, he was plain and overlooked. Isaiah 53:2. He was poor. He experienced physical discomfort of hunger, pains, and slept on the ground. He was rejected, betrayed, cast aside, misunderstood, mistreated, and ultimately murdered by the very people he came to save. He was indeed a man of sorrows, intimately acquainted with grief, including yours. God sees you. He knows what grieves you. He knows he is grieving with you. He grieves your grief, the loss of creation as he intended it to be, and the unending ripple effect of a world that that's broken, that's been broken, twisted, and darkened. And He's offering Himself to you in the midst of your heartache. Think about that. The Creator of the universe, the all-powerful King, the Redeemer and Recreator, sees you. And He sees what pains you. He's not asking you to move on from your grief more quickly. He's not impatient with you or disappointed in your inability to be okay. He knows that with some forms of pain comes scars of the past and fear of the future. He's not responding to your uncertainty by pulling away. Like any good parent responds to a hurting child, God moves towards you in your pain. And the knowledge of that should change things. We grieve, but God grieves with us. We are never alone. God sees us, intimately understands us, and moves towards us, never abandoning us to our pain. On the contrary, He holds us with a steadfast love and promises to bring beauty from the ashes. Prayer focus. Sometimes we don't have words, and that's okay. If need be, just sit with God in stillness, holding your pain and heartache up to Him with outstretched arms. It's from the Chosen Daily Devotional, this season 4. Just want to share that with you guys. I liked that this past week and read that.